Welcome everybody. My name is Georgi Penev. I'm co-director of the Bulgarian FinTech Associations, and I'm going to be your host today. So just a quick disclaimer before we start. The webinar is being recorded, so we can share it with our members afterward. I hope this is okay with you. During the webinar, if you want to ask a question, just write it down in the chat at your right-hand side, and we will address it as soon as possible. After the presentation of our colleagues today, there is a Q&A session. So you're all invited to jump in the discussion and ask the questions by yourself. So for those of you who have never heard about the Bulgarian FinTech Association before, we are a non-profit organization uniting businesses working in the sector of financial innovation within the region of Southeastern Europe and in particular in Bulgaria. Our main mission is to bring together innovative businesses and speak out their voice before regulators, institutions, and so on. We established the organization in the end of 2018, and now we have 47 member companies. So if you want to learn more about us, just check out our website, fintechbulgaria.org. Today, we have gathered to meet and discuss business opportunities in the MEASA region. In particular, we have our colleagues from the Dubai International Financial Center with us to discuss why it is a good idea to open an office in Dubai and how DIFC can help you and can help any Bulgarian fintech firm to do so. So I'm really honored to have the opportunity to share this digital event with Ali Hassan, a senior representative of DIFC. He's a former senior director, regulatory risk and management at the Dubai Financial Services Authority. So I believe that Ali is the perfect example, and he knows pretty much everything about fintech, regtech, and insurtech, and many more. So without losing any more time, I'm giving the stage to Ali. So it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Georgie, for that kind introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar, and thank you for taking the time this morning. We are delighted to hold this, our first engagements with a tech hub in Eastern Europe, and we look forward to deepening the relationship between our two geographies for the benefit of both. That's for sure. First of all, I would like to express my hope that you and your family are doing okay in these challenging times, and I'm sure that we will together come through it stronger. It is also clear that technology and innovation adoption will only accelerate across the globe, post the current circumstances. And in that context, I want to share with you insights into the opportunities in MEASA. We can look at some specific sector characteristics and also discuss how Dubai and the DIFC provides a great platform for accessing those opportunities and funding. So when you're looking at MEASA, it's good to start at the macro level and say, okay, what are the drivers of the opportunity? Well, this region has a range of diversifying economies. So you have the GCC that have been diversifying away from oil for some time. I think post-COVID that will just accelerate. And you've got growth economies, such as India in the region as well. And despite the short-term challenges that we all face, I'm sure that growth relatively, will continue going forward. You have a very supportive demographic, 40% under 25. It's very tech savvy, and we'll illustrate that in a moment. and that tech savviness makes the adoption of digital channels that much more likely and powerful. And in terms of the infrastructure, well, the GCC, but particularly Dubai, has been building out its soft and hard infrastructure to support businesses, and that will certainly continue. And then if you look at some of the hard numbers, those fundamental market drivers have led to certainly over a medium to long term a above trend rate of economic growth when you look at other geographies, and you can see that also on the right hand side of the screen we're showing and illustrating that hand in hand with that economic growth you've seen significant growth in financial services, and that's across the board, whether that's insurance, banking, investment banking, asset management. And indeed, we're seeing actually, through again the impact of COVID, certain short-term opportunities that arise around investment banking, for example, restructuring, debt and equity issuance. Also, perhaps in insurance, new different insurance products are going to come through, and also on the wealth management side, as people are looking at structuring or readjusting their investments. Yeah, and then just to indicate that tech savviness and the adoption in the region, you can see actually that mobile phone adoption, smartphone adoption in the GCC is actually running over 20% higher than you have in Europe. You also have significant growth in smartphone acquisition in Africa and parts of South Asia. So all of that is very supportive to digital businesses and digital solutions that are coming to the fore. And turning to FinTech specifically, we have seen a longer term trend of strong growth in regional and international capital flows into MENA and UAE FinTech. And that capital has been attracted by the opportunity, and the opportunity is around relatively low penetration, relatively high demand as businesses look to enhance customer experiences, look to become more efficient, look to be better at their risk management. There's also an expertise gap. So whilst the demand is there, the local expertise may not be sufficient in its capacity to deal with the demand, and that creates that window of opportunity for expertise from elsewhere, from Bulgaria, from Eastern Europe. And I've had actually quite a number of discussions with various developer hubs in Eastern Europe that are increasingly looking at what is going on in our region and the opportunities. The underlying FinTech opportunities is also supported by the fact that transactional costs tend to be relatively higher in the region. So all of that has been attracting capital, again, above trend when you look at other geographies. And the source of capital has been varied. So it's been sovereign wealth money, it's been government, private capital, venture capital, and private equity. So given the supportive fundamentals that we've kind of touched upon, we see that trend certainly continuing and probably accelerating. So when you look at Miazo and you think, okay, that looks like an interesting opportunity, then Dubai really stands out as the location of choice. It has a rich heritage as a commercial hub. It's very much built on that over the years, and is at a a pivotal location between Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. It gives you, phenomenal access to markets. There's 2.2 billion people within a 5-hour flight. And there's been some talk, it's interesting, isn't it? There's been some talk on trade flows and post-COVID, are there going to be, different forms of supply chain? And I think that, whatever happens, if there's a shift away from China to a degree, I think Miaza as a whole will probably benefit, and Dubai is, well placed to be, the global and indeed regional hub for commerce and finance. And of course, that trade, if you look around the world, you look at the, where are the big trading hubs? You will also find, innovation hubs and finance. And I think that trade brings together capital and talent and gives you that supportive dynamic, which lends itself to innovation. And we've certainly seen that in Dubai over the last 4 decades as the city has taken shape. And it is a very entrepreneurial environment that you have, and we hope soon we will all be freer to travel, so perhaps you'll have the opportunity to see that for yourself. And so Dubai is, as well as being that commercial hub, it's worked very, very hard to put in place what is necessary for a conducive business environment. And the rankings on this slide illustrate, its achievements. It's, pretty, I think significant that, 70% of Fortune 500 companies have their hub for the region in Dubai. And Dubai is not stopping, it is looking at further enhancing what it does. So for example, the Dubai Future District, which DIFC is part of, is the government initiative to drive the future economy. So it houses incubators, accelerators, and it's looking to engage, the Dubai government is looking to engage those that are innovating across all the sectors. Yes, finance, but also logistics, aviation, hospitality, tourism, energy. So there's a wide range of opportunities coming. And then from a lifestyle perspective, from a livability, again, Dubai has worked very hard on leisure, on education, on medical facilities, so that people can attract talent and retain talent. And for expatriates, coming from other countries in Europe, it is not a hardship posting, right? It's a very good life, and people thoroughly enjoy it. And expatriates, I mean, I lived out there for 8 years, and expatriates have been tending to spend most, if not all, of their working lives in Dubai. And then just to give you a feel of how FinTech is developing through the region, that you can see again, Dubai, for the reasons that we've talked about, is very much leading from the front. So over 50% of the FinTech companies in the region are housed in Dubai, and DIFC and its ecosystem is a significant chunk of that. So and they, these tech companies have come internationally. Interestingly, we've seen more the front end companies, if you like, come, but I think there's a fantastic opportunity for developers to look at Dubai and the region as a hub opportunity to service the demand that's being generated. Now, just looking at some of the sector-specific opportunities and specific developments that we're seeing, it's a really the region, particularly the GCC and within that the UAE, very much still dominated by cash transactions, right? I mean, 2018 it's 75%, probably gone down a little bit now, but it's still very significant. We've seen card payments go up 90% in the last 5 years to 2018, and that's predicted to again double out to 2025. You've got digital payments starting, but there's a long way to go. And I think that we've seen, for example, e-commerce really gain traction only over the last 2 or 3 years. So that's got a ways to go, and that will just support the digital adoption in the transactional space. And then looking at payments and remittances, I mean, payments are obviously a very important component of the digital finance stack. Our regulator, the DFSA, who, as Georgie mentioned, I used to work for previously, has set out this year in April a very comprehensive regime for payments that facilitates money transmission, issuing stored value, and providing merchant services. So the full ambit of money services that you see in Europe is available to execute in the DIFC. And of course, the region itself is a significant source of remittances. So 25% of the global remittance flows is generated out of the GCC. UAE itself is close to 10%. So significant opportunity. And in terms of RegTech, the cost of onboarding clients in the region is much higher than elsewhere, 20% higher than the global average, and that is driving demand for RegTech solutions and adoption of digital to make it more efficient, to make it a better customer experience. We've seen people come with blockchain solutions and successfully enter the market. So one example is Norblock out of Sweden that actually joined the DIFC accelerator program, was accelerated through that program, and is now live in the market with a KYC solution, utilizing blockchain. And then on the banking, and I guess this is also wealth side, you have some interesting, I guess, a broad spectrum of client profiles, right? So in the GCC, you've got a very high level of banking penetration, and then that reduces as you look at South Asia and Middle East and Africa. So there's at the high end where you've got high level of penetration, there are opportunities around wealth management and providing enhanced customer services and experiences. And then at the lower end, there's a great need for cost-effective banking and insurance solutions that could actually transform lives, but also creates an opportunity to do that digitally, because that would be the cost-effective way of providing it. And then, as an example, looking at the regional banks in UAE and the GCC, they are utilizing fintechs and expertise at every stage of the digital value chain. So looking at the payments, looking at the RegTech side, and looking at how they can build out their digital banking stack. So there's great opportunities for fintechs, yes, but also developers that are maybe working with the fintechs, or indeed working with the end institution. Great way of leveraging your expertise to engage those opportunities. So just, in terms of the DIFC itself, it is now ranked number 1 in MIASA, which is Middle East, Africa, South Asia. It's ranked 12th globally in the 2020 Global Financial Centers Index. It was created in 2004, right? So it's coming up to 16 years. But in that time, and the aspiration and the intention was always to set up a center in line with international standards of law and regulation, but having business-friendly attributes, and that really has underpinned the growth and the success that we've seen. Over 25,000 people work in this center, which is actually a physical area in Dubai. So we're like a jurisdiction within a jurisdiction. So within the DIFC, we have a common law environment. We have our own regulator, the DFSA, which is very well regarded throughout the world, has MOUs with regulators, again, throughout the world. We have our own courts that administer our legal system, and we have the activity and the substance there. So all of those firms, which are financial services firms, professional service providers, tech companies, family offices, proprietary investment offices, all of those is a ready-made cluster who could be your potential investors, clients, partners. And just to give you a flavor, obviously, some of the biggest, of financial services and professional services are hubbed in the DIFC. So it's a tremendously rich ecosystem for engagement. Now, in terms of our efforts around supporting FinTech and matching tech companies with funding, for example, our FinTech Hive ecosystem is our main focal point. It's an integral part of the DIFC. It's physically located within that larger center that I just discussed, and it just gives you fantastic opportunity to engage with various parties that could be potential partners, clients, mentors, and indeed investors. We have a number of programs that are available for for startups, for those looking for acceleration, and we recently launched the Scale Up program as well this year. And through those programs, you gain access to funding. We ourselves have an investment fund which is managed for us by a VC. There are other VCs also engaged in the programs that we run. So through that, we try to support the tech companies that have come, and as I said, over 150 are now based in the DIFC. The 20 or so firms that I outline on this slide, they have a more formal arrangement with the ecosystem. So, if you're part of, for example, the accelerator program, you will have a formal structure around your engagement with, potential partners or investors. So, whether that's Visa or HSBC or, whoever it is, Emirates MBD, they're formally part of that. But there's nothing to stop you from engaging, the wider community of almost 700 regulated firms. So that flexibility is there, and we see the whole FinTech side of it only accelerating. As I mentioned, e-commerce has only really taken hold over the last 2 or 3 years, but there's a long way to go, and that will further underpin the demand for digital solutions. And just to give you a flavor of, what's happened over the period. So we launched Hive in January 2017. We've already accelerated, over 85 entities drawn from around the world. Yeah, I mean, you can see there's quite a regional flavor, but India, the United States, Europe, Western Europe particularly. Like to see more from Eastern Europe actually, and maybe this outreach is going to generate some interest in engagement. But the funding raised through the initiative is also indicated. So I think that from our side we see fantastic opportunity for your expertise in the region, and from a business perspective, and then also for you, you can see that the funding side is also very much there. So it's those two elements are in place for you, and we'd be delighted to engage with anyone further. And I will hand back to Georgie for now to see if we have any follow-up questions.
All right, thanks so much, Ali. I think we can all agree that DIFC is the perfect option for businesses to enter the MIASA market. The presentation was just great. Thank you for your invaluable perspective. And the numbers there are astonishing. So now it's our Q&A session. So please feel free to ask any questions and express your opinion. Yeah, that's how I'm giving the stage to all of you, the participants of the webinar. So you can just unmute yourself and ask your question by yourself, or just write it down in the chat on the right-hand side. But in the meantime, can I just ask you, Ali, I saw you have 150 plus companies. I believe you can share with us just a success story. One company coming from outside and having their business set up there in your area, in the Dubai International Financial Center, and then probably becoming a big company, probably a unicorn even.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there are a number of examples in terms of the wider, Dubai ecosystem. Of course, a startup which has in fact become very much a unicorn is Careem, the rideshare entity that was headquartered in Dubai. Was set up a few years ago, and then was last year or the year before acquired by Uber. We also had Souq.com, which was again another entity headquartered in Dubai that set up one of the first actually e-commerce type shop fronts. And surprise, surprise, Amazon came in and acquired them for, I think, $600 million. I think Careem was $3 billion. So I think that they are, examples of guys that have gone very quickly, 2 or 3 years, and bang. On the financial services side, on the tech side, obviously with the ecosystem that we have in the DIFC, people are on that journey. We have Beehive, which was the first peer-to-peer lending platform in the region, established in the DIFC, and that's very much active. It's had a very successful recent fundraise in the center, and it continues to grow. We had Sarwar Wealth, a robo advisory firm, again a startup, headquartered in the DIFC, you know, that's live and doing very well. We've had others come from other, you know, regions. So from the UK, Smart Pension, which is a technology provider around pension arrangements. That's actually come to the DIFC and is actually part of the DIFC's you know, new pension arrangements. And pension arrangements throughout the region need to be you know, brought forward, you know, because at the moment typically they're unfunded liabilities on the balance sheet. But we have introduced the first defined contribution scheme in the region, and I can see that just like, you know, taking off throughout the region. So, you know, we've had that, and then on the payment side, you know, we have, you know, eBri has come, you know, eBri has come from the UK. World First, which is part of AMP Financial, has also come, you know, from the UK, and there is a number of providers now, because of the enhancements that the DFSA has made, that we're now actively engaged with. And, you know, I can see the DIFC become a significant digital hub for payment solutions linked to e-commerce, but also, you know, because of the international nature of Dubai, and you know, 90% of the population is expatriate in the UAE, there are always going to be significant flows around the world.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ali. So hopefully one day a Bulgarian company will become the next unicorn of the DIFC.
Absolutely. No, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Hello, I would like to ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
Salam alaikum, Ali.
Alaikum assalam, Martin. Thank you.
I'm Martin Bogdanov. I'm a member of the board of Bulgarian FinTech Association, and also I'm representing Paysera Bulgaria, which is electronic money institution. I had a chat with George yesterday, and I don't know how you are familiar with Bulgaria and our latest development in the last 2-3 years in the field of fintech. But Bulgaria is famous with its outsourcing destinations. We have good programmers. We have many good ideas, I guess, and this makes us somehow fintech hub, or at least we think so here in the region. And we have many companies which are now starting their first steps. They require some investments to grow further, or to finish their, let's say, idea in terms of product development and access to other countries. So do you, because I saw your presentation, and it is more for, as I understood, to welcome fintech in your area, but what do you think, and what do you have a plan for helping young companies, as I said, in their development, making some investments, or at least bring investors in ideas which sounds good, or sounds solving some financial or other issues? Because fintech, that's it. I mean, fintech is giving a new approach with new IT solutions, much faster, and the user experience is much great. I mean, this makes fintech different than the traditional financial institutions, which they have heritage already and they have what to lose. So they are moving slowly in this area. So yeah. Do you have such funds, or do you have such programs which could help young companies growing, or at least investing in them?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. You know, for that question. There's a couple of strands that come to my mind. I mean, listen, we are very much in the business of developing, fintech and tech bridges with other locations. So we've signed, various MOUs, and we'd be delighted to sign an MOU with the Bulgaria FinTech Association as well. And the aim behind those agreements is really to facilitate two-way flow of companies and of funding, as well. Why not? I mean, that could work as well. And that we haven't seen that yet, but we would be open to that. But I mean, from a funding perspective, the way the DIFC supports tech companies is really through those programs that we offer, right? So, there is we do have a startup program. The accelerator program is a 12-week program, which, and people don't have to set up an office in the DIFC to be part of the accelerator program. They just have to go through the application, and the merits of their business model is assessed by our panel, and then they are invited to participate in the 12-week program, and we run 2 or 3 cohorts a year, and then through that program, not only can they develop further their business model and operations, but they obviously have access to funding. And at the end of a year's cycle of accelerator programs, we have an annual investor day where all those that have participated make a pitch, and it's a room full of potential investors, and then you can see what comes out of that. So that's one of the ways that we facilitate engagement of tech companies and capital that's in the region. And as I said, I think within the region, capital is looking at these digital opportunities and looking for innovation. So it's the orientation is absolutely right. The other aspect, and this is through my previous travels, because I haven't traveled for a couple of months, but through my engagement with tech companies, I have discovered, and I'm sure that Bulgaria is at the forefront of this, that there is a lot of talent, developer talent in Eastern Europe, and people have talked about hubs in Bulgaria or Ukraine or the Baltic states. And my suggestion is that you guys have the expertise, and you need to somehow look at having a closer engagement with the opportunity. So you should be pitching the fintechs that are sitting in the DIFC. You should be engaging the government departments that are looking to adopt technology and saying, look, we've got the expertise, we could help you do this. And the DIFC, we're saying, okay, look, you could have a small presence in the DIFC, I don't know, I mean, somebody's going to enjoy the lifestyle and, the 0% income tax rate. Be our person to engage these entities, and through that, business flows back to Bulgaria as well. And we see that on the asset management side, for example. So asset managers raise assets, and they have an office in the region, in Dubai and DIFC, and they raise assets from the investors in the region, and they can manage those assets locally, or they can manage them in London or Paris, New York, wherever it is. But it's upping the engagement. Yes, I think the opportunities on both those elements are there, and it's just having the right the right approach to how you engage.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ali. I believe that Martin is more than satisfied with the answer. Martin, do you want just to jump in once again?
No, thank you. Thank you for the answer, and I got your point. So
that's good. That's good. I mean, I would also add, Martin, that the other thing that we could do, going forward, and I think we're arranging a webinar for Bulgaria FinTech Association to engage our community, and I think that's happening in June. So that's one way of doing it digitally. But physically, when the timing is right, we'd be delighted to host a delegation that comes from Bulgaria, consisting of various tech companies and stakeholders or whatever. Or we've done that with other jurisdictions, and we would host them in the DIFC and kind of facilitate engagement through that as well.
All right, thank you. So Man wanted to add something.
Hi. Good morning. Is the line okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you pretty well.
Hey, Ali. How's it going? I'm personally very excited about this call because I've spent some time in Eastern Europe a long time ago, and I had some incredibly talented Bulgarian colleagues and friends at graduate school. So we are very well aware and have great respect for the disproportionate talent that you guys have in the fields of IT, coding, AI. A couple of things I want to pick up on that Ali raised, I think that are also worth noting when it comes to funding. Dubai, UAE is a small but highly digital economy, and the government has a national plan to digitize itself and regional economies in the coming years, and we made tremendous progress. Similarly, Ali may have mentioned the $100 million FinTech fund that we have. Later on this year, we are going to scale that up at a Dubai level to about $300 million. And the idea is to continue to be able to attract the best talent and ideas to Dubai and the region in the program of trying to digitize economy and create jobs. So that's really interesting. We welcome, obviously, our friends and colleagues, both as individuals and those our Bulgarian colleagues who have firms who might be looking to scale into MIASA, to continue to stay in touch with us on that as well. The other thing I wanted to say is a number of our clients obviously have close interactions with Eastern Europe, including Bulgaria, from a development standpoint. And we would welcome a private sector or a public sector participation whereby we can support clusters of research and development in areas of mutual interest. It can be something as specific or commercial as middle office or back office kind of high value add outsourcing, but it could also be something of highly value additive in the front office when it comes to product development, risk management on AI and machine learning. So this is our first conversation, of course. We look forward to that dialogue, but I think there are a lot of really, really interesting opportunities, and I'm just really excited that we were able to connect with you.
Thank you so much. So do you have any more questions? So Man, if that's okay, I'll just mute you, and if there are any questions to you, I'll unmute your account as well. All right, so I believe that's it for today. If there are no more questions, yeah. Okay, so
Joro, it's me, Svetoslav.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have just a question with respect to funding. So you said that it's not necessary to have an establishment a place in order to enter the incubator program. But what about reaching the VC funds or any other resources of funds? I'm talking about a Bulgarian company, obviously the FinTech company, any of the member, because I believe that the interest will come with respect to reaching the funding there. What you could share about this?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. I mean, I think there are 2 points to make. One is through the accelerator program, there is engagement with potential sources of funding, as well as going through and enhancing the business model or the various aspects of the business. So that's definitely one through. And as Salman mentioned, we actually have our own $100 million fund, a FinTech fund that looks to participate in the funding opportunities that come through that. But also, even without, so we have tech firms that come and they're not part of the accelerator program, but just by being in the DIFC, given the type of environment it is, they have engagements with potential clients, with potential investors. And at the moment, we're running a specific incentive scheme to really make it a very low cost option. And we think that actually by having that level of proximity to the community, you will see significant opportunities arise. So those are the two ways. So you have access to funding through the accelerator program. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but you can apply, or it could be you can make the pitch and funding could flow, or you could just come and engage that wider community. And there is a significant amount of private and public wealth in the region. I mean, it's around $6-7 trillion, and the digital space post particularly post COVID is going to be one of very high focus for everyone. Georgie, I have a question actually that I think somebody has posted up on the chat about payments regulations.
I don't really see it, but probably it's only to you, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's from, I think it's Najda.
Nadezhda, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I
mean, so I mentioned the payment service regulation. There is a consultation paper that I can send through to anyone that's interested that actually sets out very clearly what arrangements the DFSA has, our regulator has put in place. But in essence, it is a comprehensive, full payment services regime, which enables the various different aspects, whether that's money transmission, across border, whether that is issuing cards of stored value, or whether that is facilitating e-commerce flows between merchants and banks. So I think that it does encapsulate the entire value chain for payments. And as I said, I'd be very happy to forward the consultation paper to anyone that would be interested in looking at that further. And indeed, very happy to have further conversations.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ali. Just for everybody who wants to ask a question, I believe it's better for you to write the question straight to me, because I'm the host and I cannot see your questions if you just address them only to one of our participants in this discussion. So a few more minutes just to see if there are any other questions, or if somebody wants to jump in. But of course, if you have any further questions, we can just answer to you via mail. So just don't be shy, ask whatever you like. It's your best opportunity and your best shot to get to know this market. All right, so once again, huge thanks to DIFC. Thank you, Ali, and you, Lucy. Thank you for your time. We're looking to meeting you and working together once again. And me personally, I'm really happy that you mentioned the MOU. Martin is asking about the presentation. Can you get the presentation? Ali, it's your call.
Yes, absolutely. We will. I think Lucy will be distributing that to all participants as a post webinar follow up.
Perfect. And when we are on this subject about the follow up, me personally and we as an organization as a host, the BFA, will be sending the recording of this webinar to everybody who registered for the event. So although that there are some people that couldn't come, they'll have the recording. And once again, huge thank you to all the people that participated in the webinar. And I have just one more favor to ask. Please be so kind to fill in the feedback form that I'll send you over. It would mean a lot to us. This is how we can improve our webinars and your time with us. So if you have something else to add, Ali, or just to finish it off? Yeah,
absolutely. No, I mean, it's been a pleasure and a delight to be involved and to engage. And we look forward to supporting you, George, and the Bulgaria FinTech Association in your webinar in June. So thanks everyone for joining. There are a couple of people that have asked for me to come back to them. I will do, but thank you for your time today.
All right. Thank you. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Stay tuned for the latest in the FinTech world. And once again, thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay home, and see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.